Greetings adult collectors, I am Crash the Customizer, and welcome to another custom Transformers showcase. This is my custom Transformers animated Lockdown. Now you may notice it doesn't look very show accurate, and the reason that is, whenever I was making this figure, I was actually going for more of a prime design, because at the time, the Legacy animated figures hadn't come out yet, and I just kind of wanted a version of Lockdown. So I was looking for like Lockdown versions. I was going to try to get that Revenge of the Fallen one, but it was a little too expensive. And honestly, I prefer the animated design, even though that was kind of like a redone version of the animated design. This one looks better. So I was able to actually get my hands on a original animated Lockdown, minus one little thing. He was missing his hook hand. So I actually made a little Lego assembly to kind of replicate his hook hand. So this section here is basically made from a lot of Lego plates, some little slope pieces, a little stud with a hole, and then this hook piece is made from those Lego Shima spider sets. I can't remember what they called these, but they used them for the spider legs for the minifigures. So I just kind of bent it just a tad and then painted it silver and kind of put some red in there, kind of give some cool details. And then I took these little Lego smokestack pieces, these little red cones. I used this little socket they used for making Lego robots, and a little Lego motor, and a few other kind of random pieces, and I was able to kind of assemble both his hook arm and the EMP generator he stole from Ratchet. And honestly, this turned out pretty cool for his actual like hook hand. I think it actually looks better than the original, and it basically fits on by this little bar and clip piece, a clip piece here, and then it has this little round tile, and there's a 1x stud piece here, and just kind of clips in and pops into there, and actually locks in pretty well. So the other things I did with this was I painted the arm kind of some red and get a little bit of yellow to kind of, that actually was something I tried to make it more show accurate with, because it actually did have like this red arm, because the whole point of Lockdown is he's a bounty hunter that basically will hunt down either Autobots or Decepticons, depending on who pays him, and he will basically take parts, other bots, and use them for his experiments, or basically add it to himself, which is kind of weird to think about it, but actually a really cool concept for a character, especially with a robot character, and just for the fact that it kind of keep them kind of asymmetrical, because they did actually, of course, mold these differently. So I tried to paint them a little differently. I got some kind of some goldish paint here, a little bit of purple in there, and got green here. And I added these little Lego tooth pieces, and then I had these like little stud hole pieces, and then this little clip piece that kind of folds over. It doesn't actually move; it's actually glued in. But I needed that to kind of fold that over and get that look. So I kind of cut off half a tile and then painted a little caution symbol there. And then this is a Lego tooth piece. I can't remember what I made this out of. I think it was like cardboard. I think from a maybe even like a box from a figure. I don't remember. But yeah, it's kind of basically just trying to make him asymmetrical, so I have like this one is actually glued down and this one folds up, kind of, so nothing really looks the same on both sides for him. And like I said, this is actually kind of more designed to be a prime Lockdown, but it still really works for animated because it's still the animated design, and it's just kind of just a little bit different. And maybe if the show went on, he might even look like this, given the fact that he's always changing himself and adding new parts to himself. So maybe he would have looked like this. Who's to say? But yeah, I quite like this design for Lockdown. Now, one thing you may notice is he's a little shorter than he's supposed to be. Technically, you're supposed to transform him with this folded in like this. And he's supposed to be like that. And they actually called this a deluxe. And if they were to re-release this figure nowadays, this would not be a deluxe. Even with this size like this would honestly be a leader class. Because here's my leader class Shockwave. And he's almost as tall as my custom Transformers animated leader class Shockwave. I mean, his head actually reaches the same height as Shockwave's head. So how exactly this was called a deluxe, I really don't know. I'm not sure if like they actually made a mistake or something and labeled it as deluxe when it's supposed to be a Voyager. I really don't know. But what I do know is I don't like it like this. I think it looks weird having him like super tall like this. I mean, because in the show he was basically the same height as everyone else. He wasn't this tall in the show, and just this look looks weird to me. So I honestly prefer just to keep this section here collapsed up and just kind of having it like this and just fold those over like that. I honestly think that looks better. And then now he's a standard size of a Voyager. So that is honestly what I like better. I mean, obviously with this little neck section, he's just a little taller than a regular Voyager. But yeah, I like that a lot better. So there he is with Optimus. We'll bring in Bulkhead here. And so we got two Voyagers. And honestly, like I said, that looks like it'd be a Voyager. Here is Lockdown with his former partner, Prowl. Here's Lockdown with his other former partner, Sentinel Prime. Here he is with his arch rival, Ratchet, with Little Bumblebee. He is with Blitzwing and Lugnut. Here he is with Starscream. And here he is with Megatron. I actually really like how this one turned out. I mean, being that it can kind of fit in with my animated and my Prime figures is actually kind of cool. Some of the things are actually kind of cool you can do. So, you can take out his hook. This thing's supposed to stay on. You take out his hook, and I made all these little accessories for him. So, you have this little hammer piece. This was from my original animated Ratchet that I used to have. I just add this little Lego stud piece to it, and you can stick it on, and you can give him a hammer. So you can kind of like maybe have him, building something. I made this little Lego claw assembly here, so you can have him kind of like use it to like grab things. And then this is from the Power Rangers Samurai Mega Blocks set, and I just kind of like, I cut off some of the section of it, I painted it, and put a little bit of super glue to tighten this up. Kind of actually looks like the chainsaw weapon he had on the show. But one more thing I did here with him is kind of neat. So with his posable hands, of course, I gave him, I did something a little different than I normally do. I put a Lego rod on both sections here and just kind of stuck the droid arms on that and then glued it in there, and then I cut a little hole for that one. Because this is actually before I figured out the standard I use for all figures now. And then also this particular assembly worked best for this one. So one thing we can do here, we can fold in his thumb and fold down his fingers here. And I made this little weapon here. So this here is made from one of the weapons that came with those Constructabot Transformer Bionicle looking things. I think that's what they called them, Constructibots. They were like this Bionicle like Transformer line, and the weapons were of course compatible with regular figures. But I added this little Lego assembly here, and then this little stud on here. And then this is from the, I believe it's called the G2 Laser Optimus Prime. It's like the sword. So how this works is it just basically pegs onto this little Lego peg here. This Lego blue peg. Just goes right on there. And it kind of gives him this really cool looking blaster. And of course, folding his hands in, it kind of gives that illusion of like how Prime worked, where their hands would turn into weapons. So now he's got this really cool blaster. You can flip the sword up, and now he's got this giant sword that he can slice things with. And that honestly looks pretty cool. I mean, having this giant sword weapon. And just pops right off. And just flip that sword back down. There we go. So now we'll go ahead and get him into his vehicle mode. So to do that, we'll go ahead and leave his hands collapsed up here. We're going to have to do a lot of parts forming, but I mean, technically it's a parts forming anyway with taking this whole arm assembly off anyway. But there's a little bit more. So I'm going to take out these little Lego tooth pieces here. These little spikes on the shoulder. Fold his shoulder down. We're going to open up his chest, flip his head in, flaps it back up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to flip these sections up like this, and then take his whole waist and basically put it like this. And we can do this where actually, let's get his head back out, and there, he's half transformed. Now he's a car centaur. So we're going to flip these up, and now he can be a giant, weird-looking Sin-car. There we go. He's a Sin-car. Get it? I know that's kind of dumb. Anyway, flip his head back in. So to get him out of his little Sin-car mode here, we're just going to have to unattach this section. Put that off to the side here for now. I'm going to fold up his arms. And then what's kind of neat is I painted this with the red, but when you turn it around, it's not painted, so that where it kind of hides that red. So you don't even notice that in the vehicle mode, which is kind of neat. So I'm just going to fold that up. I'm going to rotate his waist just like this. Now, how this originally worked was this pegged in a little better here, and then these pegged in on the sides here in this little former port. But I cut it off because when I added some stuff, it didn't really work anymore. So it just kind of now sits there, but it doesn't actually like come apart. So it doesn't, not really a big deal. It just kind of like sticks up a little more because of the things when I added the little hands and some stuff I added to it. But now we're going to take these little spikes that we had from his shoulders and stick them in these little ports here. And it kind of gives them almost like a little like spoiler thing going on there, which is kind of neat looking. And now we can attach this section. First thing we need to do is take this section here out. And we need to take out his hook. And we need to pop off this piece so we can pop on this piece here. Now, I don't know what they call this piece, but they use it in a lot of like Lego mech pieces. And it works perfectly for the front grille section. So we'll take this piece here and put it where this was. And then we just clip that into here and fold it down. And it actually creates a perfect front bumper section. Because honestly, if you were to look at this, you wouldn't even really know this actually didn't come like this. It like actually fits in perfectly. So the last thing we need to do is we need to use this clip here and clip in his little hook section here. And then it will peg into this little plate I have glued on here. So this little section here, it just folds up like that. Now his back section is a little odd looking, But if you don't really notice the hook if you're actually looking from this angle, so if you have it like this, you don't even really notice it. And there we have lockdown in his vehicle mode. And honestly, this vehicle mode looks really cool. I always did like the design of the lockdown vehicle. I mean, because it's kind of going for like a derby car, but like it just kind of had this really cool like all these spikes, and he looks like a bounty hunter, honestly. And with this Lego assembly, it actually really kind of works. I mean, I'm honestly kind of glad that I didn't actually get the original hook in the original section, or the original EMP generator, because I think this actually looks a lot cooler, actually. So, one thing you can actually do is you can fold these sections out, and now he can fire, which is kind of cool. And one thing I do sometimes kind of do, I pull these out a little more so it kind of like comes out a little, kind of gives it a better look. But yeah, this is a really cool vehicle. I really like how this one turned out. And I did do a little painting. I like repainted some of the sections here, like because like some of these sections had just like no color, so I just added a little green. I repainted the windshields with like some better red. Just try to kind of get a little silver going on in here. Put some silver in his rims. Painted these sections here silver. Just kind of give it a little bit of some better color. So now we're bringing some comparisons. So here he is with his arch rival, Ratchet. Here he is with Optimus. His former partner, Prowl. Here he is with Bulkhead. Bumblebee. Here he is with Blitzwing in his jet mode. Here he is with Blitzwing in his tank mode. Here he is with Lugnut. Here he is with Starscream. And here he is with Megatron. Honestly, he goes pretty well with the others. So now it's time to get him back into his robot mode. So to do that, when you start off with pulling this section here off, so just unclip it here. Come on, unclip. There we go. So unclip that, lift this section up. Going to split his arms down here. Unpeg these sections off there. Bring his arms up. Rotate his waist. Push these sections here in. And then we're going to flip his feet up so I can bring this section up. Open up his chest. Flip out his head. Then we're going to flip up the shoulder pad. Put these around. Take these little spikes out of his arms here and stick them up here onto his shoulder pad. Flip out his hands. We're going to take his little arm, his hook arm assembly, push these in, take this section off, take this section here off, put that back up here, put this here, stick his little hook in, attach this section here, and then peg it onto his arm. And now I have locked down back into his robot mode. Yeah, I really like how this one turned out. I mean, given it wasn't intended to be animated and more of like a prime design, but it still works for animated. That's pretty much it for this video. Be sure to check out the playlist in the description below. It'll take you to all of my other animated customs. I have another channel I've started that I plan to do some stop motions on. At some point I'm going to do a full-on stop motion series, but right now I'm kind of putting some random stop motions on there to kind of get the channel popular. So there will be a link in the description that'll take you to that channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Crash the Customizer, out.
Big S, you've come to get your EMP generator back, right?
I am. And I intend to get it.
And just how do you plan to do that? Use your magnetic weapons to steal it from me?
Maybe.
Well, that ain't gonna work. I hope you have plan B.
I do, actually. I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way.